former directors, former staff members, my seniors, my own colleagues, some students that I can see, and also fraternity from other spheres of life, including press, and some people, PMG, the Postmaster General, and others from the Postal Department as well. And of course, Goa government is also represented by Savaikar Saab. Thank you so much, everyone, from the Vice Chancellor to MPA, to everyone who is here. Thank you so much. I miss names, so I take an opportunity to thank all of you for being here. So I'll request Dr. Thamban Melot to please escort the dignitaries, Padma Shri Dr. Sailesh Nayak sir, Dr. Arvind Gupta Saab, and Dr. Ravi Chandan sir to the dais. And I'll request all of you to please give a big round of applause. Flowers are nature's best gift and a boon to our life. They add color, fragrance in our life, and nothing better than welcoming our guest with a bouquet of flowers. And may I request my colleagues to please bring flowers, and I request Dr. Thamban to please first give to the chief guest, Dr. Sailesh Nayak Saab. I'll request again Dr. Thamban to give to Dr. Arvind Gupta, please. And I'll request Dr. Thamban to give to our own secretary, Dr. M. Ravi Chandan sir. Okay, so this is the time of the day when I request Director Thamban to please give his welcome remarks and address.
Good morning and a warm welcome, and we wish you a very happy Foundation Day of NCPOR. Thank you, Dr. Rahul, for that nice introduction. Distinguished guests, Chief Guest Padma Shri Dr. Sailesh Nayak, Dr. Arvind Gupta, ex-deputy NSA as well as currently the director of this Vivekananda International Foundation, Secretary of Ministry of Earth Sciences, Dr. Ravi Chandran, and our former boss at NCPOR, several luminaries and the audience, starting with Dr. A. Muttunayagam, the former secretary to the Department of Ocean Development, who was the founding, the person at this of this institution when it started way back in late 90s, and then it finally became a reality in 2000. Our founder director, Dr. P.C. Pandey, Dr. Prakash Chauhan, the director of National Remote Sensing Center, ISRO in Hyderabad, who was also our member of our Research Advisory Council. Dr. Suman Kundu, the director of Birla Institute of Technology, that is in Pilani, BITS Pilani, Goa Center. Professor Harilal Menon, the Vice Chancellor of Goa University, again involved with NCPOR for a pretty long time, so he is actually, I would say, part of family. Dr. Arvind Mitra, former with the scientific secretary to the PSA, and also involved with this founding institution. Dr. Vinod Kumar, who happened to be a geologist and currently the chairman of the Momogowa Port Trust, earlier Port Trust, now Port Authority, MPA, who is been involved with a lot of expeditions going from this shores of this Goa, as well as currently supporting our vessels like Saga Kanya and all and so on, and also been always available for many things. Dr. Balaji from Director NIOT, Chennai. Dr. Rajan, of course, the former director of this institute. I've been again part of the family, been always here all the time. From the Postmaster General of Goa again has come all the way. And I can see again Director of NCPOR sitting a little bit behind actually, Dr. Chalapati Rao. Professor Dhirendra Katti, the Director of Indian Institute of Technology, Goa, who has again become a very good part of involving with NCPOR. Actually, we are start thinking about some collaborative works and so on. Rear Admiral Prasanna, again not a new face to NCPOR or the ministry, because we constantly from the National Security Account Secretariat actually has been involved with a lot of Arctic policy matters and so on. And our own former director who going to happen to go so behind actually, so I still need to remember him actually, Dr. Rasik Ravindra. And again OIC from the NIH actually in Goa, from Dr. Sajeev Nair, Mr. Sajeev Nair, Commodore Sajeev Nair, and many more such luminaries in this particular audience. So welcome, and I've been welcoming for the last 2 days. So I don't have anything new to say other than actually, so this institute, which has come up as a very small attached office in late 90s, after becoming even an autonomous institution in 2000, it has taken really another 10 years to really take wings. And the current institution, what you see, has grown up by leaps and bounds, thanks to all of the people who are sitting here. And especially thanks to all those former secretaries of the Department of Ocean Development and Ministry of Earth Sciences, and the current secretary of the Ministry of Earth Sciences, who also happen to be our director. And so many people, or so some of them become so senior, but however, you have been connected with this institution for a long time. So each one of you being invited here, there is a purpose. We are not inviting anyone who is not connected to this institution. So that shows actually that we care, that all those people contributed to the system through the last few decades really matters to us for our future too. And for some of you actually come very fondly today. So this institute, which started in 2000 as National Center for Antarctic and Ocean Research, basically to start continuing the Antarctic expeditions in a bigger way. We started way back in 45 years, 1981. Which then expanded to the research expeditions to Southern Ocean, building new stations in Antarctica, taking up activities in Arctic, in Svalbard, and our Arctic activities have gone. We started in 2007. We have stations there in Svalbard, and then went beyond, much beyond what we started. Now we are currently expeditions and activities happening all around the Central Arctic and in the East Greenland Sea and the coastal Arctic regions, Canadian High Arctic, even planning to have some programs in Greenland and so on. So that shows the kind of pan-Arctic as well as pan-Antarctic way we have grown. And what ultimately decides research institutions' mettle is also in terms of scientific outcome. So which is something which we have been growing for such a long and big way, not just in quantity but in terms of quality, which is actually reflected in the kind of many the international collaborations happening, which has been steadily growing since last a decade or so. And now we have multiple collaborations. Any given year, we have expeditions in Antarctica, both stations in Maitri and Bharati stations. International scientists joining those joint campaigns. Starting with Norway, Japan, Belgium, and UK, and many other kind of countries and so on, and even various other supporting things, which, as I always say, that the operational activities of an institution decides how good science you can carry out in Antarctica, or even Arctic for that matter. Without an operational base and support system and the kind of maturity which we reached, I think all this kind of could not have been possible. So now currently we are even able to support some of the countries actually in Antarctica which does not have a very dedicated logistics systems. We sometimes support them actually in needs of in times of need. So that again shows the kind of growth we have grown. And we have, in terms of scientific manpower, actually, we have grown. Actually, of course, we could not grow actually in the permanent manpower, but we have plenty of research students now. There are nearly about 40 PhD students in a small field of this, in this small institution like this, which is growing continuously. And there are several postdocs and, the project scientists we call actually, which actually been able to, we find that actually who find that a very attractive place to carry out the research, because the kind of the facilities which we have created and the atmosphere we have created for them, that to grow and flourish and at the same time bring up the names of the institution together. So that also is reflected in globally in so many committees, international committees of polar and ocean research, which almost many of our people are part of those committees and working groups, including some cases actually we are in the leading position of some of these most important committees in Antarctic, whether it's Antarctic in terms of in the managing these operations or those involving in actually environmental and so on, and including Arctic and so on. Another very important thing actually, which when you typically hear about a polar institute, which you may be thinking actually we do only go to Antarctic and Arctic. We have a very huge project which is under the Deep Ocean Mission, carrying out exploring hidden minerals in the mid-oceanic ridges, especially down south, in the central Indian ridge, and again, areas which no other institution can actually go. Even currently, today while I speak, there is just an expedition starting from Mauritius, going to the down south around 20 to 30 degree south, searching for minerals which are formed at the plate boundaries, which we call as hydrothermal minerals, as well as the vents through which this hot magma keep coming. So some of these explorations are for science. Some of them are actually for looking for the new minerals for this country as we look for the Vikasit Bharat by 2047. So ultimately, we just not do science. We also contribute to those things which the country look forward to us in terms of policy, in terms of actually inputs, which will make the country to do place in a strategically the right place. So therefore, we have strong relationships, including this National Security Council, and their secretariat, and those people who keep continuously being in touch with us, because we are able to provide some of this information. So our responsibility does not end only doing science. It is our responsibility to make, however, to take our science much more further in future. That will help them or help the government actually to place their own policies in a much better and stronger way. So with this small introduction, I like to welcome each one of you, sir. Thank you so much for coming here. And it's been a pleasure for us for the last these 3 days now to receiving all of you, listening to all of you, and to ensure that actually whatever you have imagined or envisioned is we are able to take forward in the coming decades. Thank you so much. Welcome to all.
Thank you, Dr. Thamban, for welcoming the guest. And as usual, we are humans and we err. And I have erred today. So the lamp lighting has to be done. And I request all of you. So it is always good that you realize your mistake and do the correction. So here we are.
गजाननं भूतगणादिसेवितं कपेतजम्बूफलचारुभक्षणम् उमासुतं शोकविनाशकारकम्
Okay, so before I commit any other mistake, so it's my proud privilege, probably, and rather for the audience as well, to have the Secretary, Ministry of Earth Sciences, Dr. M. Ravichandran. And before I invite him, it will be good that I introduce him very briefly to the younger audience sitting behind. Dr. Ravichandran is the serving secretary to the Government of India in the Ministry of Earth Sciences since October 2021. He's a physicist, started his career from MOS Institution in Atmospheric Sciences from the Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology, and then he switched gears and came to the technology arena in ocean technology at NIOT, where he contributed significantly to the ocean observing system. At heart, he's a physical oceanographer, and he loves observations and modeling. And thereafter, he moved to the Cryosphere Institute, NCPOR. So in domain, he's a true Earth, he was there in INCOIS, obviously, and then he moved to NCPOR, and that completes the whole circle of Earth system science. So, of course, he has diverse interests, he has n number of publications, many awards, and I'm not going to read that. I'll just request him to please come and address and give his talk. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Rahul. Very good morning to all of you. Dignitaries on the dais, Dr. Sailesh Naik, Dr. Arvind Gupta, and Dr. Tamban Melot, and many of the NCPOR well-wishers sitting here. I cannot name all the people. All the well-wishers are sitting here, and my colleagues from NCPOR and students and young school children and many others. Very good morning to all of you. Indeed, it is a very great pleasure to be here as part of this 25-year celebration of NCPOR. Greetings to all of you on this special occasions for your 25 years journey and your contributions. Congratulations to each one of you for your immense contribution to the organization. I think NCPOR is a unique organization under the Ministry of Earth Sciences. As you all know, there are many institutions are there for ocean, atmosphere, and solid earth, but for polar research, the only one institutions, many contributing. I think your contributions are very immense because if you see that the institution is very small, but the way you have transformed with the limited manpower and limited financial budget, I think your contribution, like people tell it per capita, is very immense. You name it, scientists, directors, or scientific assistants, and administrations, and many other. I think you all contributed immensely for this growth journey of NCPOR. I thank you all from my heart that I think it is invaluable what is your contribution, right from founding director from Pandey as well as founding secretary, both are there. So it is the journey, I think the foundations are very strong, so it is able to move further without any flaw. Yes, the contributions are immense. I don't want to, of course, last 2 days I was not able to be here. I'm extremely sorry, but I not missed any single talk. I have gone through all the 2 days talk, including many of you have mentioned that by mistake my name instead of Rajivan. That also I heard. That shows, of course, it is not that you are not appreciating or you are not what is called, you are not remembering the Dr. Rajivan, because maybe I am very close in both sides as a director as well as secretary. So that may be one of the reasons. And maybe Avinash also very close. That's not maybe. Okay, coming back to, of course, he told me talk about the vision. Of course, I am not the person to talk about the vision, because vision has to come from youngsters, not from, we can only reveal the past history, but not the future directions. So future direction has to come from youngsters. I think you need to discuss among yourself and come back the vision. Because you know better than the recent technology, recent science, recent geopolitical dimensions, all these things, how it is changing, you know better than all of us. So I think it is imperative that you have to make a vision document for yourself. Of course, the vision 2047 is everyone, we are thinking of it, we need to contribute. We have to think about, as a Polar Institute, as an Ocean Institute, how we can contribute to the Viksit Bharat. So that is the way we have to think about. See, our presence has to be felt not only locally, but also globally. For that, what we need to do. That is the more important things we need to think about it. I have a few points to make a line on that. I think NCPOR activities are many things. As I told, it has transformed the spatially, temporally, many things. That means you have worked from, right from North Pole to South Pole, ocean, Himalaya, all these things. Apart from that, you are looking at various time scales. You are making measurement in atmospheric time scale, like a few minutes to few seconds, few hours. Then the ocean time scale with the years and decade. Then the solid ice time scale. When I came to NCPR only, I come to know that millions of years and billions of years. I don't understand that. Also, they tell it is a high frequency data. I was wondering. Of course, I started my career very high frequency, that is in terms of milliseconds. I started with the lightning observation. That is all we talk about, milliseconds. But here you are talking about millions of years. I'm again counting the number. Still, I'm not able to count the number and understand the reality of what is that. Of course, you have worked many areas and other things. Coming back to specific, when you talk about Arctic, you have done immensely, contributed in terms of various things, whatever possible in terms of observations, and you brought out a new understanding, and there are many impact you have created for the nationally as well as locally. Still, we need to have more and more understanding, because you know that the Arctic is warming much faster than any other place. It is, in the recent decades, it is about 4 times faster. And also, if you take an Indian Ocean, maybe Indian Ocean tropical, in the ocean, Indian Ocean is faster than any other ocean in warming. But whereas in the atmosphere, Arctic is warming faster than any other place. So there is a connection. I think we need to reveal some of the things, what is going on in this, why Indian Ocean is faster warming than any other ocean in the tropical ocean. Is it anything related to contribution from poles, or it is vice versa? We need to think about it. Coming back to what we are doing, science is good, but also what for we are doing science, that is more important. See, certain things we are doing science for applications, certain things we are doing science for improving maybe weather forecast or improving technology or knowledge, everything. But here, the science is a backbone for many other things, not only for understanding many of the physical system, but also indirectly you need to have a, what is called governance, policy making, geopolitical, all these things you have to have an informed decision you have to provide from your science. That is more important. That I realized when after going to Delhi. Of course, before that, very focused on science, we need to do science, yes, but what for? So somebody has to feel for it in the top. You are doing science only for this. You are doing science for this. So that they had reality we have to bring out. That is more important. So basically, I'm talking about we need to make science for informed policy making and also for sustainable development. Of course, you know that Arctic, we have 3 important things. One is we are working for climate change. Of course, whatever is happening in the Arctic, it is impacting everywhere in the globe. So we need to worry about the climate change. And because of the climate change, there are a lot more things going to happen. You would name it resources availability in the Arctic, and also maybe the northern sea route is going to change because of that, how the shipping corridor will change. Because of that shipping corridor, how we need to place in our India our legal minds, so that we have to think how our science, of course science is the backbone for our polar policy. That is very important, that we need to keep in mind. But at the same time, we need to contribute to the top level. So that is, we have to think about. Basically, even if you are talking about Arctic, in the Central Arctic, it is going on melting. Suppose in the Central Arctic, you know, the resource abundant, you name it, non-living resources or living resources going to be also be increasing because of the species migration. So we need to worry about that, though it is not belongs to our what is called our forte, but at the same time, we need to navigate where there is a resource potential available here, how we need to navigate with along the countries in the Arctic Council, and what is our role and impact. Maybe we are to CLCS, that is, we know it is NCPOR's immense contribution is CLCS, but the CLCS is going to happen in Arctic. But I'm not telling that you have to do for climbing or anything, but when the CLCS things are coming up, when the Arctic Council nations are finding resources as well as they are fighting each other, what is our role and how we need to behave? That also we need to think about. Basically, in Arctic, we need to strengthen our collaborations with the major countries, especially Arctic Council countries. We need to strengthen. Of course, you have made from we put a thing from Svalbard, then we have gone to Canada, then Greenland, and I think we need to go with other countries in Arctic countries. Yes, the manpower is very minuscule, but as Dr. Tamban mentioned, there are more young scientists. Actually, the young students. Actually, the students and youngsters has to contribute more on the science, whereas the middle scientists and top level scientists, they have to think about the policy and governance of the polar. That is what we need to do. You leave it to the youngsters, they will do better. They will, because in the polar region, one thing is always problematic is you require energetic and tough terrain, you have to work, and other thing, they know better than our maybe our seniors. So we need to strengthen the collaboration, and we need to do on science, social and legal and geopolitical aspect as well. Or you have to direct in the top in this aspect how we can do. So as a changing climate change, as a changing geopolitics, how we need to be placed. That is the way important. We have so many minds. I think that all the minds has to come back and think about how in the changing geopolitics, how we can use the polar science and polar governance to tackle that type of geopolitics. We need to think about it. So coming back to Antarctic, of course, it is the starting point for NCPOR. It is started in Antarctic, and you have done immense contribution in terms of science. It is not very easy in Antarctic. I once again thank the logistic team. It is really very marvelous. Actually, it is, though I may be, when I was here, I may be firing, I may be fighting, I may be harsh, but their contribution also, it's without them very difficult. Earlier, entire military was working, but now few people in NCPOR, entire things are managing. It is really wonder. Though the science in Antarctic, actually science when you are doing, we need to 3 points I have to convey. One is we need to think about application oriented. Application oriented means we need to think about how the monsoon will modulate because of sea ice or ice calving, or maybe Antarctic weather, how it modulates to what is called Indian monsoon. So it is all application oriented. Second things we need to think about the curiosity driven questions. Some of the unexplored things which we are doing already in maybe GeoEIS and other type of thing, how India and Antarctic connects and how it has happened old time. So that type of number 2. And third thing is geopolitical nature. How we need to work on geopolitically, how we have to be in place. So we need to have a projection, not prediction, but projection in the future, how we need to go for that one. When you talk about Antarctic science, of course, there is a climate change, ice is calving, and sea ice is melting. All these things are happening. What is the impact? Sea level rise is going to happen. When compared to other countries, sea level rise is 2 problems for us. One is not only for extra water mass is coming to the ocean, but also the thermal expansion is going to happen in our area is much more. So we need to be doubly worried than other places. So that's why we are more particular about the sea level rise. And also warming of the ocean is happening warm and warm. So our ecosystem will go degrade, or maybe so many marine heat waves, cyclone intensified, all these things will happen. So basically it comes from there, but the time duration may be different or time scale is different. So we need to think about that aspect. And also on Antarctic governance, we need to have ATS, we should have a powerful presence. I think Antarctic governance, we are always very light, we never talk, we do many things, but we don't tell. I think we need to be very strong in talking in Antarctic Treaty meeting so that our voice is heard. When we don't talk, they should feel that why India is not taken. It is not the other way around. Every time that, oh, India means they will not talk. That should not come. I think we should be other way around. For that, we need to build a system. I think in Antarctic Treaty, when compared to other countries, we are fortunate to have Antarctic Treaty meeting. The science are leaders, not maybe IFS or anything in external ministry. So that is because we are from the beginning, our started Antarctic everything. Science is the governing thing. Science is the what is called currency for the Antarctica. That we demonstrate everywhere in Antarctic Treaty. Whereas all other people are coming in the foreign affairs, maybe polar ambassadors, all these people are coming and talking. But only we represent truly science. In Antarctica means science. So scientist represents in Antarctic Treaty. But at the same time, we need to be little more vocal in Antarctic Treaty system, because ultimately what we are doing science to talk in Antarctic Treaty system. If you are not able to talk, it is really very difficult. And also we need to be very vocal in terms of now the next few decades, most of the things will be talking about tourism, bioprospecting, mining, all these things will be coming. So we need to worry about in these aspects, how we need to be thinking, what is our views? Either we want to promote tourism, or we don't want to promote tourism, or sustainable tourism, or what is that, our view? Our views has to be clear in front of global picture. That is more important. And we need to build a narrative of Indian narrative of polar. So we have to have a polar narrative, our own polar narrative, which has to be heard from entire world. I think for that we need to work on it. Maybe we have to do inspecting various other stations. Why we are not in, we need to show our muscle power also in Antarctic. We need to go for other stations and show that and see that what the others are doing. And also we have to show our, what is called our strength. And we have to see that they have to be worried about little bit about India. So that we need to be indirectly and soft worry. It is not muscle power, but it has to be, they have to think differently what we are making it. And in terms of projects also, we are working on PI-based project in Antarctic. Maybe I think it is a time we need to go for a maybe big lighthouse project, maybe big project with international lead. Maybe we should be lead and international collaborator, international scientist has to come along with us, and we can do for a global cause, what is that we can do in polar science. So there is a big ticket item we need to think about. Maybe big projects like that we need to take, cutting edge project and other things. And definitely we need to work with other countries. We need to have more collaboration within the country as well as in other things. I am sure that in 2048, the Antarctic Treaty will be coming for revision. So that time, what is our stand? Of course, nothing will change afterwards, but what is that we have to change? You know that, so it is like a sea ice is melting year by year, and most of the Antarctic climb is frozen. But since it is melting, that frozen should not come back again climb. So that time, if it comes up, what is our stand? So that we need to think about. So only thing is we need to build a Indian narrative, but a science-based narrative. Science is a backbone for that narrative should be there. So in Antarctic, we need to think about science plus policy, legal, and geopolitical aspect. So after Antarctica, of course, Antarctic affairs, it is Antarctic is including Southern Ocean, so we need to think about Southern Oceans. The Southern Ocean is under-observed. We need to observe more, and that Southern Ocean impact our monsoon again. And I think the Mascarenes high, it is warming. So because of warming, then the Indian heating the gradient will not be that much. So because of that, there are a lot of cross-equatorial flow will reduce. Then what is the impact of the monsoon? And also in Southern Ocean, Southern grill fisheries, why we are not doing it? Of course, now thanks CMLRE, now they are advocating the people. Maybe hopefully next year, some of the industrialists venture into the Antarctic grill fishing. But we need to have camel also, we need to be equally, we need to think about, of course, in the ecosystem, how we need to that. And the third last, what is the Himalaya? Of course, Himalaya, you know that it is 2 billion people are dependent on the water, but we don't know how much water is available in Himalaya. We know the glaciers, but we don't know the thickness of the glaciers. So we need to think about how thick it is, the glacier, or how much total volume of water is available. We need to map it. After mapping that, how we need to regulate, what is the policy is required, what will happen in this treaty, or any other treaty for that matter, what will happen. So that we need to think about in the future. That type of governance, that type of policy, we need to provide to the government. For that, we need more and more observation, more and more understanding in the Himalaya region also. We need to think about that. So we need to have a governance mechanism in Himalaya. We were talking about many years about Himalayan Science Council. I think it is imperative that we need to start the Himalayan Science Council so that we will be able to have a leadership role in that. So we need to have a build a narrative there also. That is more important. And coming back to the ocean, of course, you are also equally contributing to the ocean after deep ocean mission. I think the hydrothermal vent and what is your success story, and you are able to identify so many, what is your objective you are able to fulfill. And of course, we need to go a long way. For that, you have to contribute in various aspects. I know that you are very small group. I think we need to build various other institutions and other people so that we can have a better prepared in the ocean aspect. I'm sure that the CLCS is coming in the right time. Soon it will be getting some fruitful result. And we need to be various other things. You take it IODP or geoid low, or you can take various cobalt crest and many other EZ survey, many other things you have immensely contributed. Each one is very small people. That is why your per capita contribution is very big. That's why I always appreciate NCPOR. I think having said that, I think we need to have some focus, very lead program and some focus, because we are thinly, we have made it many things, because we need to understand our strength. We don't have many people. So we have only small group. In this small group, what we have to contribute, that also impactful. That is what we need to think about in the coming years. And I request next 5 years, build infrastructure which is required to have the vision of 2047. Why I'm telling again 2047 is special for you, because 2040 is, I think we need to build a narrative. 2040 should be a polar decade again. Why? Because 2040s in the summer, sea ice in Arctic will not be there. No sea ice in summer. 2040s, in which year only is worried. Of course, the predictability of sea ice is very poor. We don't have our models or all these things are not that good when compared to ocean and atmosphere. So we need to understand much more. But even though whatever we are predicting, it is happening much earlier. So that means 2040s, as of now, there is be no sea ice. If there is no sea ice, what is the impact of India? And also, what is the global impact that we need to worry about? In 2048, we will not have we will have to revise the Antarctic Treaty System. So what is our role in that time? How we need to place our position, India's position in that time. And then again, 2040s, we will have many of the glaciers might have melted in Himalaya. So how the water pressure will be tackled by all around the countries in the Himalayan region. So what is our preparedness? That we need to give a policy decision to the government. They have to prepare for that purpose. And of course, in the ocean aspect also, we need to have more and more this one. So when you talk about 2040s, 2048 Antarctic Treaty, 2040s no sea ice and glacier melt in Himalaya, and 2047 also we are going to celebrate 100 years of independence of our India. So all these 2040s, we need to have something very big thing we have to vision. I don't have vision, but you have to plan for your vision. In that vision, how we have to navigate. For that, next 5 years, you have to think about what is the infrastructure required. You make it PRV, or you make it Maitri station, or any other infrastructure required. You have to build. You have to shout, and you have to try to get it. I am sure if you have a proper narrative, proper direction, properly you explain, government have no depth of money for science. I am very sure if you are able to click properly, you will get the things. Only we are not able to click properly so far. I am sure that very soon polar mission will come. It has been, always it is done, but some more things to do. It will be happening very soon. But having said that, you need to have your vision. You have to have, if NCPOR or polar things which we are not doing, what matters to India? That way we have to think about it. So that is a things all I am more expecting from the youngsters. You need to build. I think you have to have informal chat. You have to discuss. Then only it will come out. It is not that somebody will direct you from the top to bottom. No, you have to build your narrative, and you tell that to the top. That is what we need to go about. For that, I am looking forward, your youngsters especially, more and more creative, as well as the Indian narrative, as well as more science, and many things I am expecting from you. Once again, my greetings to all of you on this 25 years. I think you have immensely contributed. Thank you for your service to the nation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for guiding NCPOR, and your love and passion for the cryospheric regions has been quite evident in the address that you gave, which was rather extempore, but you can feel it that it's coming from the heart. So thank you so much for that, and thanks for always supporting NCPOR. So now we have a very special person, and it's my honor to introduce Dr. Arvind Gupta, who is the director of Vivekananda International Foundation. He's the former deputy NSA, and he has been a National Security Advisor, Secretary to National Security Council during Government of India to 2014-17. Earlier, he was Director General of the Institute for Defense Studies and Analysis, Ministry of Defense during 2012-14. He has been a career diplomat and has served Ministry of External Affairs and missions abroad. He's a prolific orator, and I have heard him a couple of times, and he speaks a lot on foreign policy, national security issues in different institutions, including advising the services and forces, and has interestingly guided research students at premier educational institutions. He's author of 5 books, and what better person than Arvind Gupta to talk on polar strategy in a changing world. So please welcome Dr. Arvind Gupta with a big round of applause.
Namaskar and a very good morning to all of you. Shailesh Nagji, with whom I had a chance of working in interaction during my days in the NSCS, and you mentioned the Himalayan Science Council. He is the originator of that idea, and he had prepared a note at that point of time, and you're coming back to it. That means the idea was very relevant. And it's a great pleasure to have him today and share this dais with him. Ravichandranji, he gave a fantastic talk, and actually there is little that I could add to that, because some of the points that I wanted to make on geopolitics he has already talked about. But certainly it was, I think, as you said, it was coming from his heart, and he has already outlined the vision. He's already outlined the vision, but you know, that narrative that he's building for a polar decade 2047 for which 2040s for which you should think about now is the right vision, and I think a very important vision. And then of course Thamban Maloji, who has invited us all here and is heading this wonderful institution. And the work that is being done, he introduced, and it was really breathtaking, apart from being that it's so stunningly beautiful, the places that he works. But the fact that NCPOR is going to play a very important role, is playing a very important role in the nation building, I think, and he's heading such an important institute. And a number of dignitaries who are here, who have contributed to the growth of this great institution, and also the fraternity of polar research, ocean research. I think this is a very, I am humbled in their presence because they're all very learned men and all contributed. And all the dignitaries who are here, some of whom I have known a little bit in my earlier interactions. So thank you for inviting me for this Silver Jubilee 25-year celebrations of this institute. And today, after hearing you and also learning a little bit through our interaction, you see, I also come from, initially from world of science. So I am also, like you, a physics person. And I spent a couple of years in TIFR in the 70s. At that point of time, the Bhabha Atomic Research Center and along with ISRO, these are the two main top institutions which kind of, you could say, were leading the scientific research. And so many other institutions have now come up. So maybe wrong or right, but I could kind of place NCPOR somewhere in the category of BRC. Atomic energy, very big institution, fantastic projects, great, and similarly ISRO. So you're probably in that category of top institutions in the country. And I think now I can place where this, you know, your place, and of course there are other institutions also. I'm not very familiar with them, but NIOT and other institutions, the deep ocean mission that is also now a very big mission. So oceans and earth sciences, these are very big. And this, I think, I can also place, these are frontier areas, as frontier as outer spaces. Now, outer space gets a lot of billing, a lot of visibility, everybody is talking about it. But this area probably has not got that visibility. But it is equally challenging, equally frontier, and perhaps even more urgent because of the climate change, environmental degradation, and so on. So those who are in the civil society, people who do not know much about it, you know, they go by visibility. But I think the visibility perhaps is not there, and this kind of a conference and so on can probably add to that visibility. And you talked about international collaborations. I think international collaborations add a lot of visibility. Perhaps one suggestion we can make, which I wanted to make in the end of what I'll make it right now, which is that, as you said, you know, you should take lead in a big international projects, etc. You could also take lead in bringing together the international community, which is based in polar science research, and have regular meetings, big events, etc., where they can come, and in which you could also involve not just the community, but also people from civil society and associated disciplines. That will, I think, help us build that narrative that you're talking about, and that will help us build that strength that we require in our diplomacy in the Antarctica treaty system or in the Arctic, etc. So this point just came to me when I was just listening to you. So I think I'll say a few words about geopolitics, but that is something that we deal with. And but you have already touched upon those points, but maybe we can just elaborate a little bit on that. So with the growing concerns about climate change and environmental degradation, loss of biodiversity, the salience of polar regions is growing. And I think all of you understand it better than I do, because you are the ones, your science, your inferences are going to inform the policymaker and the narrative in the civil society. So you know that very well. So now there is this worldwide concern about the melting of the polar ice and the way it's going to impact global climate, the rise of sea levels, etc. All this is very well known to you. But I think the point that we have to understand, and which was also made by Ravichandran ji, that polar regions politics is deeply influenced by geopolitics and vice versa. Today, polar regions are very much a part of the evolving geopolitics. And the geopolitics in the last few years has shifted so radically and so rapidly that we don't quite understand what kind of a world we are stepping into. And this geopolitics, apart from many other factors, there are many, many factors which impact geopolitics, but I think these polar regions are also going to play a very important role in shaping the geopolitics, and geopolitics is going to play a very important role in shaping the polar regions politics. Now, this interconnection has to be understood. I don't think it is well understood, except perhaps in the very narrow community of people who are dealing with this issue. Certainly, I don't find this in our own debates on geopolitics. Polar regions figure, but only marginally. And part of the reason is because of the lack of knowledge about the polar region itself. So this is, I think, something that we have to keep in mind. And as you know, the big countries, Europe, for instance, you know, these regions, how were they discovered? All very expeditions were sent over centuries to these regions. And these regions were a part of what I could call the European colonial project. So while there was the element of discovery, element about science, pride, valor, projection of national power, etc., but essentially they were colonial projects, because the European countries at that time were expanding and they were discovering all parts of the world. So when they were coming to Asia, they were going to Africa, they were going to all parts of the world, including the polar regions. But since they took the lead, so they came and established their presence here. So presence led to claims. So on all these regions, the claims have been there, and the claims still exist. Even in the Antarctica, the claims exist. All these countries have, and some of these are outlandish claims. I mean, Australia, I believe, claims half of the Antarctica, if I'm not mistaken. So claims exist, except that in the Antarctica, they have been deferred for a while. That is all. They will all come back. So your presence, those who are present there are the ones who will have the strongest claims. We don't know how the system will evolve in future, but claims are very important. And that is why I think good that we are having a presence in both the Arctic region and the Antarctica. But more the presence, the better it is. And that is why you see China is now going on to its 6th station. It's not for nothing. It's not just for science. So science and discovery, etc., leads to politics. And there is a political project behind it. So let us not separate science from politics. It will be there. Sometimes it will surface, sometimes it will be subterranean, but it will be there. So I think the connection between science and politics, and then that's where diplomacy also comes in, has to be made. So today, as I said, the polar politics is a central part of international politics, and India, with its growing profile in the international relations, must take polar politics very, very seriously. So that's, I think, the basic point that I want to make. If you look at the Arctic and the Antarctic regions, both are actually very different regions in terms of politics. The Arctic region is a divided region. So there are so many countries. You have the Arctic 5, which have access to the Arctic Ocean. Then you have Arctic 8, who are part of the Arctic Circle. And there are many other players who are not close to the Arctic, but they now have deep stakes in the Arctic. And I think what has changed in the last few years is the emergence of new actors. And one of them is China. So China is describing itself as a near Arctic state. Now, it is not just a word. In 2018, they came up with this. Now, what is behind this concept of a near Arctic state? You get a feeling when you look at their programs, look at their assertiveness, look at their aggression, look at the drive, the resources, the manpower that they have put in their polar. It's not doing for nothing. They obviously have some plan, and we can see through what it is. And since they have a presence, since they have the drive and energy and that vision that you talked about, they are going to make a major, they will play a major role in the shaping of the governance of these regions in the few years. And we can see what has happened in the Arctic, for instance. The Arctic region has traditionally been a highly militarized region. In the First World War, and in the Second World War, and in the Cold War, the Arctic region, there were, I think, several hundred military facilities from both sides which are operational there and are still operational. This whole issue about Greenland is not that Trump one day just thought about Greenland and says, okay, it's one of his real estate projects. No, it's a deeply strategic project. The US has made at least 2 major attempts to buy off the Greenland region. One way back, I think during Truman's time, and now, and one earlier than that, and this is the 3rd attempt by Trump. Because the Greenland's location is between Europe and between the Northern American continent, and it is somewhat closer to the Northern American continent. And during the Second World War, when the German submarines were active in the North Atlantic, etc., they were monitoring that. And in Greenland, during the Cold War, they were monitoring the Soviet missile systems, etc. So as a monitoring station, that's why you have a very big US base in Thule in Greenland, and some other bases also. Tomorrow it might just happen, despite what anybody else says, there are only 50,000 people. And Greenland is about half the size of Europe, and Americans have been there. They'll simply one day land and they'll take over. Nobody can do anything. As you said about narrative, so we should also be building in the next few months or years. If they actually take over the island, what will happen? I mean, Russia went into Ukraine and see what happened. So these are some very big geopolitical shifts which are taking place, and I think polar regions is playing a very important role. Similarly, look at Russia. Russia today is, for them, the Arctic North, the Arctic Ocean, the resources of this region, the 5,000 kilometers long Arctic coastline, which is the biggest, 52% of the resources in the Arctic they own. And they are today a diminished power, but they have not forgotten that they were power. They are going to come back. And the Arctic region is going to play a trigger role for the next phase of greatness of Russia. Putin has understood it. And this other fellow, the president who was there, when Putin was briefly the prime minister, I'm forgetting his name now. Huh? Yeah. No, what was his name? I just slipped my mind. But this gentleman who is now the Russian Security Council chief, they are very aggressive. And they said that Arctic North is going to be our next trigger of resources. And who are they? Now that Russia is isolated in the Arctic Council, Russia is isolated, and they're trying to isolate Russia, but they are becoming very aggressive. And that's why they are now reaching out to India. And that's an opportunity. They are the superpower in the Arctic. So if India has to do something in the Arctic, of course you can do something with Norway, with Canada, US, etc. But they are not favorably disposed, naturally disposed to you. In science they may be, but not in politics, in geopolitics. But it is Russia which is going to, so Russia today, if you want to make an icebreaker, perhaps they are the people that you could approach. They are the people, if you want to have a presence in the Russian Arctic North, they are the people. They are already offering you stakes in the Yamal and some other places. Northern Forum was there, and I think Rasikji was there. And they are all saying that you come and invest. Today, it's not the budget of the Ministry of Earth Sciences that is going to take you that far. You can take you that far in science. But ultimately, the investments, it's commerce, which takes you far. So I think our private sector, etc., has to get involved in the opportunities which are there in the polar regions. And I think the starting place could be Russia. Because Russians today want you. Tomorrow, they may not want you. And they also want you to balance with respect to China, because otherwise China is taking away everything from there. China is a huge presence in the Russian Arctic North. On the NSR, they already have a working group between Russia and China. And they are trying to control the Northern Sea route. So they have a stake there. Chinese have invested in Iceland, Finland, all kinds of places. And today, the Arctic Council itself is now fragmenting. It has become inactive. It has become ineffective, let me put it this way. Probably active, but in an inactive way. And today, probably Russia will look for alternate mechanisms. Russia-China is there. I think India should join that while you remain in the Arctic Council, but you should try and maybe work with Russia and see whether some alternate methods of the mechanisms, maybe on a bilateral sense, this could be done. This must become a very important part of our India-Russia relations. In fact, I was in Moscow just last week, and we had a big conference on India-Russia relations. The Arctic came up from the Russian side in a big way. But that means not just science. You have to go and invest. You have to be present there. This Deputy Prime Minister of Sakha Republic, who came to the VIF, and Rasakji was there in that one. They're opening, this is please on tourism. You please come and bring tourists and we will give you all the facilities. So I think there are many opportunities, and Russia is very strong in science and so many other things. So I think that's, so this evolving geopolitics is presenting you with a lot of opportunities, and I'm sure today India is it's seen as a benign power. So probably Canada, we can also work with you, Norway can also work with you, and Norway did play, by the way, a very important role in getting India a membership, observer membership of the Arctic Council at that point of time. I remember that. It was Norway and Russia who brought India into this. So this is, I think, one very important area. This should figure in our, the point I'm making is that this should figure in our diplomacy, both in bilateral diplomacy and in multilateral diplomacy. Now, I think we should also look at, you mentioned the Antarctica region. Now, as you said, the ATS treaty will come up for, well, ATS is, I think, permanent, but the protocol, the Madrid Protocol, will come up for a revision in 1948. And I think one should expect that the Chinese and the Russians are going to make a pitch for breaking all the constraints that are there on resource extraction, etc. So we should be ready for that. And we ourselves, that's why I think infrastructure is very important. So building our capacities and capabilities in polar technologies, in infrastructure, in logistics, and also very important in terms of manpower and skilled manpower. That, I think, is the time for us to, so I was very happy to see some students here, and I think you said some 40 research PhD students are here. So we need to build a community of polar research, and in which we can bring not just the fundamental research, but other associated areas. And this can very easily link up with climate change and many other things. So I think we need to now take a holistic approach in which polar science can play a central role in this. I think as far as India is concerned, as you all mentioned, a lot has been done. But listening to you, I realized, and also talking to Shailesh ji and many others, I realized that I think while we now have a very nice foundation but what we need to do is consolidation. And this should take maybe a few years, and then on this consolidation, we should build a much bigger architecture. But here we'll have to show ambition. You see, right now, all these are very important, but these are small things. You know, idhar kuch kar liya, udhar kuch kar liya. But that's why this suggestion that we should probably design and lead a big international project is a very good idea. But within the country also, I think probably there are about a dozen institutions which are there. We should probably collect all of them, and Earth Sciences can play a very important role in that. But today, National Security Council, and Prasanna is here, National Security Council can, because that is where it was understood first, how important the Arctic, otherwise it is a fragmented thing. And they are the ones who, along with the earth sciences, brought this Arctic policy together. But now is a question of making that roadmap. And fortunately, the Prime Minister at the highest level, he is very much interested in these projects which showcase India, which build India's image, etc. But it's not just image building, it is building India itself. Because just as from a scratch, we built a community of atomic energy scientists. And then we came up with our own program. From scratch, we built a whole community. I think similarly, this could be a third big thing, earth sciences, oceans, climate, etc. We should, so in your Indian narrative that you're talking about, I think we should have to lift the profile of this community, which means that we have to provide much more resources and also bring several communities together, and we can do that. And I'm sure you all are discussing this. But as I said, just as outer space catches the intention of even a very 2-year, 3-year-old child, similarly, I think our polar thing, expeditions, etc., these wonderful videos that you have been showing, it should catch our thing. But that will require a lot of work together. Geopolitics you mentioned is important. And here I think perhaps you could link up, the community could link up with so many institutions. The NIAS is doing a lot of work in this Arctic area. At the VIF, we do a lot of work on geopolitics. There are many other institutions also. Maybe we could have some regular conferences where geopolitics can be discussed. And we should also invite to these conferences an Indian version of international events, where the whole community is invited. And I think we should not simply become appendages to the Arctic Forum or that third pole or whatever it is called. This is okay, we started off all right, but I think we should now give a competition to them because they have their own agenda. We will never be able to build an Indian narrative if we are only as an appendage to them. I think we need to really build our own institutions and own strengths to build in a narrative. And here I am reminded of that episode of Swami Vivekananda when he met Tata and Jamshedji Tata on a ship on a voyage to I think he was coming back to India, and they on an ocean, on a sea, they were all surrounded. And they talked about, they introduced, and he was a young man. You were right, the vision will come from young people. He was hardly 38 or 39 at that point of time. And he told Tata that, why don't you build now something which is science? We should give a competition to this Western science. And that is how this Indian Institute of Science, whose campus they share, was built. And that rest is history. And I think that's kind of a vision. And in fact, I believe that Tata offered him the directorship. He says, look, I am a sadhu, I am a monk, I have nothing to do with it, but you build this whole community. Because Vivekananda, apart from, believing in India's spiritual strength, and by the way, spiritual strength is very important even in science. So we should not, we talked about material and science, etc., but it all has to come from that. That's why I really liked very much the Ganesh Vandana and the Saraswati Vandana which was done, which completely changed the atmosphere here. So spirituality, probably, when he talked about the India's spiritual strength, which makes it so easily acceptable to the rest of the world. And now you have the material strength. So spiritual and material. And anyway, in our system, spirituality and materialism, they very nicely mingle with each other. So the strength that we have to build for India, and he was the one who used to say the basic thing was, you give me 100,000 youth and I'll change the shape of India and I'll make it the Vishwaguru. So if you have to, 2047, if you have to become the Vishwaguru in the right sense, we're not like Vishwaguru like the way China wants to become a Vishwaguru, not that way. But in the right sense, then I think missions like this can provide that backbone for our the narratives that we will talk about. And I think NCPOR and Earth Sciences, which help us understand this world in which we live in, and combined with outer space and also the also the quantum and so on, the secrets of the quantum world, etc. All this is the same nature that we are talking about, and all of this is coming from the Brahma. Ultimately, you have to all go in. So I think there is this whole narrative that we have to build also of the spiritual and material sense and the well-being. And ultimately you said, you know, we should ask this question, if it were not there, what will happen? I would go back to Gandhi, who said that one cardinal question, one fundamental question, what you are doing, does it wipe out the tear of the most deprived person on, in the world, in the country? The answer is yes. Today, polar science research, earth science, etc., the benefits are so huge that they will uplift us. They will also help us remove the deprivation that we have faced for such a long time. So thank you very much. It's been wonderful talking to you and also learning a lot from this interaction. Dhanyavad.
Thank you, sir, for a fantastic talk on geopolitics and the way we should be approaching polar regions, and rightly put it that we need to be slightly proactive when we work in the polar domains. So we start with the felicitation speeches, and the first on the list, on the program shared is Dr. Vinod Kumar, Chairman, Mormugao Port Authority, a PhD in geology that we came to know when we met him first time, a competent Indian civil service officer with a huge experience, and currently, of course, the chairman, and chairman MPT earlier, which is now MPA, and NCPOR had wonderful relation since its inception, and therefore it's such a pleasure to have you, Vinod sir. Thank you.
Good morning, all of you. Dignitaries on the dais, all the scientists, the ex-directors, and other VIPs sitting in the auditorium. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Tamban Melot, my friend, for having given me the opportunity to be among such eminent scientists. It reminds me of my geology days. But representing a 140-year-old organization, that is Mormugao Port Authority, and looking at a 25-year-old vibrant young man, so I don't know what to congratulate and how to congratulate. But basically, pardon me for speaking about me, because my life and career will be interconnected with NCPOR and NIO. I think when Dr. Tamban was doing his marine geology course in the Cochin University, I was pursuing PhD in Kerala University. I was doing PhD in sedimentology, but then geology rejected me. So, but I have not yet rejected geology. I got into the civil service, and that too in the Indian Postal Service. So I did not know how I could continue the relationship with NCPOR or NIO. I was associated with these organizations, NIO, during my research days. NCPOR was not born at that point of time. So it was NIO, I think the director NIO is somewhere here. It was NIO which gave me the seabed samples for my research. So a lot of gratitude for that. When the Geological Survey of India said no, that was surprising when at that point of time, when you ask for help from the scientific organizations, they used to say no. We want to do research, so you can't do research, kind of a thing. So that point of time, I got a lot of assistance from the NIO Goa. So later when I joined here as the Postmaster General in Goa in 2017, my colleague, Mr. Jayabhai is here. He's the current Postmaster General. So when I joined in 2017, the first thing I asked, because of my geology inside me, the first thing I asked is, bring me the file on Dakshin Gangotri Post Office. Because you know, the Postmaster General here is not only the Postmaster General Goa region, but also Antarctica, because there is a post office which started in the Antarctica, Dakshin Gangotri. So I used to tell my boss that I want to go to Antarctica, because we are inspecting all the post offices in Goa region, but what about Antarctica? So that day I took the file home and started reading the file from serial 1. I realized that there was a huge break. The association between the post office and the Antarctic, the NCPOR had broken. Probably because earlier this was, the expeditions were being run by DOD, and later probably NIO for some time, maybe. Then later NCPOR came. So this relationship had broken. And there are very interesting orders in that. I remember one Mr. Sudhakar Rao, a scientist. He's here? Oh, okay. I don't know. This, Mr. Sudhakar Rao, who was part of the 7th expedition, if I remember correctly, was the first postmaster of Dakshin Gangotri post office. So I reconnected. I told Mr. Ravichandran at that point of time, he was the director. I told him, sir, you owe me 1,000 rupees because 1,000 rupee advance was given to the postmaster. And that has not been settled till now. And we, being a post office, we are very concerned about even 1 rupee, 10 rupees. We spend 1 lakh rupees to find out, investigate how 10 rupees was lost. So 1,000 rupees, sir, is a big amount of money. But then, instead of settling that, we could reconnect, sir. I think during Mr. Ravichandran's time, from that time we did a lot of philately work. And it is very important that the present Postmaster General also is here. We remember such people. Mr. Sudhakar Rao, we should bring a special cover on the first postmaster of the post office in Antarctica. We should remember such people and also document these things. It's really important. And you should also realize that one of the covers, envelopes, at that point of time with a 1 rupee stamp, carrying the signature of Mr. Sudhakar Rao and, if I remember correctly, Mr. Sen Gupta, who was the leader. It is priced 10,000 rupees today. It is available in the philately market. It is priced 10,000 rupees. So this is the price of a kind of a philately item after so many years. So after that, sir, a lot of associations between NCPOR and the post office continued. And I think last year we had the Pardi post office inauguration on the 24th foundation day of NCPOR. So that is the association. Unfortunately, I was trying with Dr. Ravichandran also and Dr. Tamban also. They have not been able to take me to Antarctica. Now, Dr. Rahul is saying that I should submit a project. So after 32 years, sir, I've forgotten geology. I don't know how to come up with a project. But I'll think about it and I'll seriously consider it. Because I tried the other way around, convincing my bosses about inspection of this post office, but then that has not worked. Now, if this channel also doesn't work, sir, then I have only one option of taking the port route by cruise vessel or something, somehow reach the Antarctica. But, sir, it has been a very good association. We reconnected after so many years. And today, the association continues. And there is a hope. When I was listening to Dr. Arvind Gupta ji, he was saying, so there is a light at the end of the tunnel. So from his speech, I could understand that not only scientists, tomorrow you will need strategists, bureaucrats, diplomats in Antarctica. So there is still a chance that I can still make it in future. So thank you very much. The association, in fact, continues, because when I took over as the chairman of the Mormugaon Port Authority, we are having a very close association. with Dr. Tamban, and in spite of the fact that he has not taken me to the Himalayas or Antarctica. And I'm sure that they are coming up with new vessels, research vessels, where the port also will facilitate. And to help them, we are also coming up with a project of deepening the port channel. We are going to deepen the port channel to 19 meters so that the largest vessels can come to Goa. So that will play a major role in the future, not only for research, but also for the business of Goa. So thank you very much again for calling me here, and wish you the very best, all the youngsters, because it has already been told, we are written off. The older ones have been written off. The vision, everything is with the younger guys. So wish all of you the very best, and I congratulate NCPOR once again for this wonderful function and years ahead. Thank you.
I'll request the Secretary to please felicitate Dr. Vinod Kumar. Okay, so we move ahead, and now I'll request Vice Chancellor Goa University, Professor Harilal Menonji. Just a few lines. Tamban has already informed you that he is a family member and the current Vice Chancellor of Goa University, a senior professor of marine sciences, more than 36 years of research and administrative experience, a lot of publications to his credit, and very, very active still in the science, whether in Southern Ocean or wherever we go, he's always ready with a proposal. So Goa University and NCPOR share a very good academic relationship. And this gives me such a pleasure to invite him to give his felicitation speech. Professor Harilal Menonji. A round of applause.
Thank you, Dr. Rahul, for that nice introduction. Padma Shri Dr. Shailesh Naik, Dr. Arvind Gupta, Dr. Ravi Chandran, Tamban Meloth, Director, all other dignitaries, my esteemed colleagues from this esteemed institution, students, a very good morning to all of you. In fact, I'm very happy to be here, standing in front of you when you celebrate this 25th year of existence of NCPR. You know, I have been associated with this institute for quite some time as a faculty member, first as an assistant professor, then associate, then professor. Any cadre I have been associating with this institution. And, you know, that association was intensified when NCPR has identified the Southern Ocean as one of the thrust areas. If you look at 25 years back, you know, the idea of NCPR was conceived. But if you look at now, 25 years later, basically this is not to celebrate the time we spent, rather it's the time that what we have contributed, what we have achieved. And that's how the vision of the country, in fact, NCPR has placed the India in the top level as far as the polar research is concerned. I'm very proud because I was also a part of that. And, you know, if you look at the way in which they have built, whether it is Maitri, whether it is Bharati, and then of course Himadri. The work carried out by NCPR could lead the light to everyone that this is the significance, this is the importance of cryosphere as far as the global climate is concerned. In fact, initially the name was NCOAR, that means National Center for Ocean and Atmospheric Research. But then after realizing the significance of polar studies, or after realizing the significance of cryosphere, the name has been changed, and that itself was a visionary, leadership. For that, I think I must congratulate Padma Shri Dr. Shailesh Naik. I think during his time, this nomenclature has been changed. So we should appreciate the kind of people who are sitting at the Delhi and then the kind of people who are sitting here, so that, they have the vision like 20 years, 30 years down the line. And today, in fact, all that talks, whether Dr. Arvind Gupta or the present secretary had given, it's all, the kind of, the platform built by the, the older people, in the sense that the building block has actually made the present generation to come out with this idea. So thank you so much for that. And then when you look at the Earth system science, Earth system science cannot be studied in silos. Rather, it has to be through interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary way. So I really appreciate when especially when during the last 5 years, I was a part to this RAC, so I could see that the kind of work they have done, the kind of manpower each director has selected here, the kind of meticulous approach they have done, so that we have excellent, though the number is less, like everyone has said, number of scientists working here are less, but the output is very high. In the sense that you see any publication, it's all in high impact factor, and that really shows the kind of meticulous approach the directors have done in selecting them. My whole, the appreciation and the congratulations to all the former directors and the present director for choosing that. In fact, you have come out with so many I think this I have said many times. You have come out with many publications and many policies have been amended, or the new policies have been developed. But then let me tell you that this 1.4 billion people in the country, this information has to percolate. For that, what is needed is that you need to have a translation of the same thing in local language, for which I have been requesting to the present director, and of course when I got time I also told this to Secretary, that like for example, we have many languages spoken in different states, so let this information be translated. For that, we have actually taken an initiative by Goa University. We have an excellent school of language. So if this could be, translated into local language like Konkani and Marathi, and then even those language faculty can have some street play, because through street play, this can be conveyed, because only when they act as per what policy we do, then the global climate change or anything could be controlled. So therefore, this is my advice, that please, and I think if I'm correct, university has already submitted a proposal around 10 lakhs. I think 10 lakhs will be peanut for you, because when you handle lakhs of crores of rupees in your budget, probably they are 10 or 12 lakhs. If you give, they will come out with wonderful translation, and probably that would percolate to the common man. Like, I have nothing else to add. Rather, I would, I was trying to learn something, because with the very limited number of, the strength, the institute could come to this level. And I would say that the kind of work you do is really fulfilling the aspirations of 1.4 billion. So therefore, thank you so much for that. And all the directors, whether it is present, in fact, first director, Dr. P.C. Pandey, he was very close to me. And the guidance he has given, the direction he has given, and subsequently all had really, because when you make a basement, proper basement, what is necessary is that when you build a house, what is necessary is that you have to have a proper basement. So that proper basement has been done by Dr. P.C. Pandey, and then subsequently everyone has, gone in the same direction, and so that we could build a very strong, NCPR. And as Dr. Arvind Gupta said, that we should be in the leading role. We should be able to, come out with the policies in the international level. My best wishes to all of you. Again, once again, congratulate for all the kind of work you have done. And let me tell you that I am very proud to stand here, not as an academician or a vice chancellor, but as a fellow scientist of this institution. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Menon, for your wonderful words, and I'll request Secretary to do the honors in giving. Yeah. Thank you. The next speaker is someone who is very close to us, being a part of our research advisory as well. And he's none other than Director NRSE, Dr. Prakash Chauhanji. It's interesting to know that Dr. Prakash Chauhanji has trained in applied geophysics and then did a PhD in physics, and then went on to become the director at the Indian Institute of Remote Sensing before he joined ISRO. He joined ISRO in 1991 at SAC, Ahmedabad, as a scientist working for applications of space technology, including remote sensing technology for geosciences, atmospheric and oceanic processes studies, natural resources management for ocean and land resources, and so on and so forth. But he has done a tremendous work in Earth observation applications and has played a lead role in using hyperspectral satellite data for interplanetary missions such as Chandrayaan-2 and Chandrayaan-1 for lunar surface composition mapping. His findings have conclusively established presence of water molecules at different locations on the moon, and that is so important. With these few words, I'll request Director Prakash Chauhanji to please give his felicitation speech. Thank you.
Namaskar, good morning, and most respected Padma Shri Dr. Shailesh Nayak ji, Dr. Arvind Gupta ji, Secretary, Ministry of Earth Sciences, Dr. Ravichandran, Dr. Thamban, Director of NCPOR, Pandey Saab, Dr. Muthu Naikam, our Harilal Menon ji, Vice Chancellor ji, so many colleagues, very well-known colleagues, friends, and all staff members of NCPOR. First and foremost, let me give a very heartfelt congratulations to each one of you on achieving this 25 years of successful journey of NCPOR. And I must thank Dr. Thamban Mehlot for inviting me here for this important occasion and being part of this function. Indian Space Research Organization and NCPOR, and in particular Ministry of Earth Sciences, has a very unique relation. I am the only working person here in this hall from ISRO today. We have many ex-ISRO sitting here. And I can narrate to some of the young people, the discussions which used to happen in SAC Ahmedabad when Pandey Saab was about to leave, and to become, he was designated as the founding director of NCPOR. Pandey Saab may recall that building number 43 where he used to sit in that first floor corridor, and all he and other colleagues, including Dr. Nayak, you has to have long discussions with cup of coffee that how some of these, space technology and the ground-based observation systems can be, used for creating institutions which of national and international importance, which are supposed to provide observational requirements as well as scientific understanding of various Earth system processes. Those days, I am talking somewhere in late 90s, early 2000s. So not only ISRO has given some of the initial leaders and then a lot of secretaries to Ministry of Earth Sciences, we also have a unique relationship in terms of working in a symbiotic relationship. So when I talk of NCPOR, ISRO is providing, and in particular NRSC is providing large amount of Earth observational data coming from a host of Earth, remote sensing satellites working in different part of electromagnetic spectrum, which are very critical in terms of, observational requirements of remote far-flung areas like Antarctic and Arctic. And, long-term satellite data has given real insights into various issues like changing climates, reduction of sea ice, as well as, long-term assessment of marine biogeochemistry in these areas. But at the same time, we are also critically dependent, especially being director of NRSC, I feel, obliged and, to mention the kind of great support we are getting from NCPOR in running our ground station support at Antarctica. So what we call is the Antarctica Earth Observation Ground Station System. The advantage of Antarctica being, in the polar region for Earth observation satellite data reception is huge. In Shadnagar, we have our primary ground station in Hyderabad. I can only observe 3 or 4 satellite passes from Shadnagar in Hyderabad. But if I have a ground station in Antarctica at Bharati, station, I can see 10, Earth observing polar, satellite orbits from Antarctica, and I can download huge amount of data covering the different parts of the globe. Today, Indian satellites are not only, observing over India, we are also observing the entire world. The scatterometer data which we are providing from our OceanSat-3 mission goes into near real-time operational weather forecasting at NCPOR, as well as we provide data to NOAA, NASA, and many other institutions. This global data acquisition strategy is successful because we have this critical facility at Antarctica, which is supported by NCPOR in terms of all kind of requirements, be it in terms of logistics, running the ground station segment, as well as now we are planning to augment, some of the ground station facilities in Antarctica, keeping in view the upcoming high throughput satellites which we are going to launch. We need to change the frequency setups. We need to develop Ka-band ground stations in Antarctica. So that relationship with the NCPOR is very critical. And I am so thankful for you, Secretary, Ministry of Earth Sciences, as well as Director, for providing this vital support to the national importance for bringing all this Earth observation data from Antarctica to Shadnagar in Hyderabad for processing and disseminating to all the users, not only in India, but worldwide. Now, as far as my personal, involvement with NCPOR is concerned, I have been the member of their research advisory committee. Thanks again to various secretaries of Ministry of Earth Sciences. I have seen the journey of NCPOR's growth over last 10 to 15 years by virtue of being in that committee. And I can tell you that the kind of research which is being done by the scientists of this institution, be it in the field of Antarctic research, Arctic research, or basically in terms of surveying the continental shelf, in terms of understanding the geoid lows around the southern Indian region, this is simply world class. And of course, we all have to be proud that such an institution exists in India, thanks to the visionary leadership of Dr. Pandey and subsequent directors and all the secretaries of Ministry of Earth Sciences, that we have reached to a place in a very short span of time. 25 years is nothing actually in the institutional history. Recently, last year we celebrated 50 years of NRSC. So I wish that in times to come, as the activities of Arctic and Antarctic related aspects are going to expand, as we have heard from the experts, as well as from the space perspective also. India is aiming to have almost a 10% share in the global space economy. The role of Antarctic and Arctic in terms of ground segment operations is likely to expand manifold. So when we will be celebrating 50 years of NCPOR, I am sure that this institution must be a really world-class institution in its full might, as has been envisioned just now by Dr. Arvind Gupta ji and the Secretary, Ministry of Earth Sciences. The kind of expectation from this community are really tremendous, and the kind of scope will be really expanding in years to come. And I wish that this particular institution grow manifold, and serves national development in right perspective to make India as a Viksit Bharat. With these words, I wish each one of you a great future ahead and a really fantastic times in terms of research as well as contribution to the nation to come over a period of next 25 years or so. Thank you very much for inviting me over here, and have a wonderful day. Thanks a lot.
I'll request again Dr. Ravichandran to please do the honors here. Quickly. Move. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for just again reiterating the relationship that NRSC and NCPOR have since long now. The next on my program sheet is the Director IIT Goa, Professor Dhirendra Katti. Professor Katti is a chemical technologist who did his BSc Tech from IICT and then PhD in chemistry from Bombay University. He's currently, of course, the director of IIT Goa and a recipient of prestigious Tata Innovation Fellowship of the DBT and elected fellow of the Society of Materials and Artificial Organs. And he has a lot of interest when I was going through his CV, but largely to point out that currently IIT Goa and NCPOR are in continuous discussions and talks along with IIT Kanpur and others for developing drones and UAVs with radar sensors for glaciological studies in the Himalaya. Of course, he's a prolific writer, a wonderful orator, and may I request Professor Katti to please say a few words.
A very good morning to all of you. Let me start with wishing all of you, particularly all the previous founding directors, to all the other previous directors, and the current director and the entire NCPOR community, a very happy 25th anniversary. Wishing you many, many more years of exciting research and leadership in not only in India but the entire world. I have just started recently, last year, as the director of IIT Goa, and my relationship has begun with the current director, Dr. Melod. It has been, I should say, a very interesting journey for me. But I would like to just say a couple of points. All of you know that there are many IITs in India, 23 to be precise. And IITs are primarily meant for undergraduate, masters, and PhD, so it's all education, and hence we are part of Ministry of Education. And I consider it a tremendous honor to be able to influence young minds, brilliant, bright minds of India in whatever way, the best possible way that we can do. And being the director of an institute of this type, I think is a very, very major responsibility, while of course it gives you the privilege to influence young minds. In that context, I think I would like to mention 2 points. One of the things that are relevant to this celebration. So one of the things is that as a young institution, we have the opportunity to choose areas of research interest that we feel that would not only befit an institution such as IIT, but would also coincide with national priorities. And therefore, and our location is also an important point to be considered alongside. So considering all these things, I will mention at least 2 important relevant areas of research. One is sustainability and climate change, and the other one is marine science and technology. These 2 areas, amongst others, space science and technology, for example, is also another. But these 2 areas are very, very relevant to not only the region, but also to this institution here. And therefore, as a consequence, it was natural for us to explore possibilities of working together. We being a brand new young institution, and many other institutions were already in the realm of climate change as well as marine science and technology or ocean science and technology, it was a natural thing for me to explore possibilities of collaboration. In that context, we came and met with Dr. Meloth, and Dr. Meloth had already got a very interesting problem on hand, a challenging problem on hand, and therefore we were more than happy to participate in that project, and now it has gone to a level where we have just about submitted the project. So thank you very much for that opportunity. I also want to thank Dr. Ravichandran, who was very open to the problem. Recently, I met him at the French Institute in Delhi, and we were discussing very briefly about it. I will, of course, talk to you more at length about it later today. And the other thing I want to mention is, in the same breath, Dr. Balaji is here, and I wanted to explore, because ocean technology is another aspect that we wanted to be participating in as part of our interest in marine science and technology. So I have met very recently and developed, I personally feel, a good and strong, deep relationship with Dr. Balaji, who's the director of NIOT. And we exploring possibilities. Yesterday he was with us, listening to some of our faculty members and identifying and commenting on what we can do better in terms of ocean technology. So thank you very much, Dr. Balaji, for coming down and listening to all our interesting research. I think gradually, but surely, this opportunity that I have on hand on choosing areas of national interest and exposing young BTech, MTech, PhD students typically in the age group of 17 to 27, 28 years of age to these very frontier areas and sort of instilling some sort of national pride and giving them an opportunity to work and make a difference in these sort of frontier areas for the nation, I think in itself is a very, very major responsibility and privilege. And I feel very, very overwhelmed and grateful for that opportunity. I personally feel that 25 years down the line, I hope we can meet again and at that point of time be extremely gratified sitting somewhere here in the audience, thinking that we both played a small role and made a difference in not only the lives but the research that India does and make the nation proud. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, sirs. Thank you so much, Professor Katti. Thank you. Next on the list I have is Director BITS Goa, Professor Suman Kundu. A couple of lines before I call him. I was so happy to understand that he did his PhD from BHU in molecular biology from Institute of Medical Sciences. He's professor of biochemistry from University of Delhi, and currently, of course, the director and senior professor of Department of Biological Sciences, BITS. BITS and NCPOR have some very strong relationship since its founding days. And just to remind again, while we were chatting, that we had Professor T.C. Goel, the first director of BITS, who used to keep coming here, and Pandeyji had a very intimate relationship with Professor T.C. Goel. So, he left us early, and but you remind me of those early days where he used to come. So please join your hands to welcome Professor Suman Kundu for his address.
Thank you very much for the generous introduction. I'd have to say a very good afternoon. I missed saying good morning by 4 minutes or so. Dignitaries on this stage, our chief guest for today, Dr. Shailesh Nayak, Dr. Arvind Gupta, Dr. M. Ravichandran, and of course, my compatriot, the director of NCPOR, Dr. Tamban Melot. I have met Dr. Pandeyji before, and he was on our campus as well. And as rightly mentioned, the association with Professor T.C. Goel, the founding director of BITS Goa, has been very strong. Let me take this opportunity to congratulate you on completing a quarter of a century, 25 years. We are looking ahead of time. And compliments to all the scientists at NCPOR, the research scholars, and everyone else, the Ministry of Art Sciences, for achieving this landmark. And I can relate very well with this because we are close. We are 21 years old, and we are planning to celebrate 25th very soon. I have been here for 3 years, a little more than Professor Katti. And as I hear today all the achievements and all the glories that NCPOR brought to this nation, I kind of repent as to why I did not have more interactions with Professor Melot to see that how we can collaborate and take research and innovation forward. Hopefully we get an opportunity to do that in the coming days. And especially because we have been, BITS Goa, BITS Pilani has been a very strong teaching institute, but in the last decade or so, research and innovation has been a strong point with us. And we are strong, for example, in underwater acoustics research. We created the first soundscape in the ocean of Goa from BITS Pilani. And there are various other ways that we can contribute to ocean-based research. And we would like to work together with NCPOR in the coming days, renew the relationships that we had when Professor Goel was here. And going by the higher educational institutes in Goa, I must say, the Goa has this image of tourism. We are a higher education hub in the state now. You name any discipline and we are here. You have already heard IIT, NIT, Goa University, Goa Institute of Management, Pharmacy, Forensic Sciences, Law, you name it, and we have it all. But I realize that NCPOR holds the pole position, in Goa, being, of course, relating it to polar sciences and, the Himalayas and the Southern Ocean, but it does contribute so much, we are really proud to be associated and proud that I'm felicitated here and an opportunity to say a few words here. Dr. Tamban and Dr. Ravichandran has mentioned that the institute is small, but I believe it's beautiful. Small is beautiful, You consider this to a door is large, the lock hole or the keyhole is small, the key is much smaller. But that key plays the most significant role in terms of door, the entry, and so I think NCPOR plays such a significant role in the nation. It's small, but it punches way above the weight, and it achieves so much for the country and for the nation. And Dr. Arvind Gupta has rightly pointed out how we can play a role in geopolitics as well. So it's fantastic that it's doing so, and it makes us proud that we are associated with NCPOR. Ocean plays a very important role, and we know that life has emerged in oceans. All the oxygen was produced in ocean, the biodiversity, the economic importance, on and on, NCPOR, plays that important role. And has already been touched upon, the Atomic Research Commission, the Space Commission has done extremely well, and I hope, and they have become popular, as has been said well, and a wonderful narrative has been created. It's time that the Earth Commission also does so, and NCPOR can play a big role in that, gaining more popularity, creating narrative. And I'm happy to note that NCPOR has taken the right step, because I don't know how many of you have seen the NCPOR website. Many of you who are in NCPOR, of course, do. NCPOR has put up a comic site on the website, and that's wonderful to see. And I think that's one way this popularity can be created, this narrative can be created. We can go to school levels and talk about them, because space is so popular, so should be ocean. And this is a wonderful way to do it. And the scientific mandate that NCPOR has is extremely challenging. And I like the way NCPOR on its website mentions that we do research in areas of polar sciences which is not done by any other institute in the country. That's wonderful to see, and Dr. Ravichandran has rightly pointed out that it does so. So it holds a unique position, and that's why I said it does hold a pole position in polar sciences research. And I congratulate you all. I am sure that you will do wonderful in the coming years. And from BITS Goa, we would love to work with you if there are problem statements. I know that one proposal has been written, and NCPOR has allowed our student, now scholar, to be on expedition as well for microbial diversity, for climate research, and many other ways that it can go forward. And the first felicitation speaker mentioned that he couldn't go to Antarctica, but then I realized there are two ways you can do that. One is you can write proposal with Professor Harilal Menon. He's good at that, and he'll get that. Or let us do it together. And the other way is dream about it. I always dream about going to the Arctic and Antarctic, and I've been successful. So, and hope that NCPOR gives us that dream in taking the country forward. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Suman Kundu, for fantastic words. Quick. And I loved the word he said, that keep dreaming about the polar regions. So keep dreaming about Antarctica and Arctic. If you get in dreams, it can turn into reality. Thank you. We now have something really special. The release of the special cover and special cancellation. Philately is important both for history and posterity. And Antarctica and philately have a rather unique relationship. People love to send envelopes with stamps for each expedition and get it stamped in the post office at Maitri and now at Bharati as well. And this becomes a collector issue. Even if you can send the envelopes with stamps to our logistics team to get them stamped and make your own collection set. So I request the Postmaster General, R.K. Jebhaya, to please say a few words before you hand over the special cancellation. Yeah, please come.
Respected chief guests of today's function, Padma Shri Dr. Shailesh Nayak, all the dignitaries present for the function, and the scientists community in the audience. Today, we are going to release a special cover in order to commemorate the National Center for Polar and Ocean Research on its 25th Foundation Day. I extend my heartfelt congratulations to Dr. Thamban Melot, Director NCPOR Goa, and his entire team on this momentous occasion. It is indeed a moment of great pride and honor to stand before all of you today as we commemorate this significant milestone in the journey of NCPOR. The release of a special cover and a special cancellation is an acknowledgement of remarkable contribution given by this institute, as well as a tribute to the spirit of scientific inquiry, exploration, and environmental stewardship that it embodies. NCPOR was dedicated to the nation on April 5th, 2000, under the aegis of the Ministry of Earth Sciences, and it has been at the forefront of India's polar and oceanic research endeavors. The center has played a pivotal role and set up research stations like Maitri, Bharati, Himadri, and Himansh. This special cover and special cancellation, which we are going to unveil today, will be a collectible item, and many of the philatelists showcase these special covers in district level, state level, national and international exhibitions, and take the knowledge about the institution and its contribution at these levels. Our former Postmaster General Vinod sir has given few ideas for special covers. I am sure my team here, Mr. Patil, Director, and other colleagues will take this forward. The institution has given multiple contributions, and each of these contributions definitely deserves a special cover. My team could coordinate with NCPOR and take these contributions, like the stations that are there. This can also be a topic of special cover. So we could release a multiple number of special covers during these celebrations. I would request both the teams to coordinate on this. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to all the scientists, researchers, and NCPOR staff whose efforts have brought all of us to this remarkable juncture. And I wish best wishes to all of the community of NCPOR to continue to inspire, innovate, and lead the way in polar and ocean research for many, many more years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Jayabhaji, and the complete staff of the Postal Department who is here today. Thank you so much. And thanks to all the people who are there in the audience today to witness this momentous occasion. We now have a special release, that's a book which is entitled A Breath of Frost by Dr. Sulagna Chattopadhyay. It's a fresh edition to Antarctica, Antarctic history, and I'll request Sulagna to please introduce the book before we release it. Please, in a couple of quick sentences.
So this is like a historic moment because it's a book on history, and this is historic, it's 25 years, so released on a very historic date. So I think this is a very befitting platform. So I'd like to, of course, thank all of the dignitaries on the dais for releasing this today. So thank you, Dr. Shailesh Naik, Dr. Arvind Gupta, Dr. Ravichandran, and Dr. Thamben for releasing the book, A Breath of Frost. So this journey began because Ravichandran Saab believed in us. He thought we could make a book which would span 4 decades. So, it's not easy because we organized it thematically. And Dr. Thamben actually, when we finished it, he read through every word of this book. And we were delighted that he could find the time to do this. Now, without Dr. Rasik Ravindra, this book would not have been possible. Everything that came, that is here, it's like, the people we've talked to, and we have about 120 people whom we've spoken with, and we've taken their views. And so every theme is interspersed with anecdotes. So it's a very interesting read with a history in the background. So it will not tire you when you read through the whole book. This is the first book that actually encapsulates the history of India's Antarctic idea, because it spans from the 1950s to the Antarctic Act that has come, and even beyond that. We've covered till the 44th expedition, and so the Parliament debates are also there, which is a very interesting chapter. And I am so happy that Dr. Shailesh Naik and Dr. P.C. Pandey, they have mentored me, they have brought me into this dream that we are all talking about, the dream of Antarctic. And that's why I've been able to perhaps make this comprehensive outlook from an observer's point of view, because I'm not on the inside. So it's a perspective which is more, I would say, more a-biased in a way. So what I feel after this is like, the Arctic is very conflicted and it's also mixed up and everything is going on with lots of countries. But Antarctic, perhaps, it is because it's in the domain of science, it showcases that, how scientists can be great collaborators. And you should see that we have chapters on collaborations and how they can be peacekeepers. And this backed by geopolitical research, I think like what Ravichandran Saab just said, that, senior scientists should kind of project the visionary pivot that science plays, celebrating Antarctic exceptionalism. I feel the message of the book is largely that scientists are doing a great job, and they should be the pivot on which Antarctic should rest for the next 25 years. So it's got good anecdotes. I hope you'll all get a copy. I'm sure we are going to give them a lot of copies, so I'm hoping that everyone gets to read it. Thank you.
I'll request Rasik Saab also to please come on the dais, please. Can you please come quickly? Rasik Saab. be there, to be there. Only 5 hours. Okay, it has been a rather long morning, and I'm sorry for it. It has been rather cold as well here. We are making you feel that you are in the polar regions. And now we have for the address by none other than Padma Shri Dr. Shailesh Naik, a former secretary, the current director of NIAS, and I don't know what all I can say about him. He's a fantastic person, a great educator, a great researcher, and somebody who can talk from remote sensing, ocean color monitoring, ocean color monitors, to geology, because his PhD is in geology, to geopolitics. So name it and you can discuss with him. So that's the stature of Padma Shri Dr. Shailesh Naik. And I'll request, without wasting any more time of yours, I'll request Dr. Shailesh Naik to say give his address.
Thank you, Rahul, very much. And first of all, my greetings to all of you on the 25th Foundation Day. We are very fortunate to have Arvindji, and he gave fantastic talk on the geopolitics and the strategy which we should have. Dr. Ravichandran outlined the entire vision. And of course, the many senior colleagues gave their ideas. So I don't have much to say for me. But fortunately, I had also 25 years of association with NCPOR. Because of Dr. Pandey, and Prakash mentioned that before he joined, we has to have a lot of brainstorming. And since Dr. Vasco-Da-Gama was also from ISRO, we were having a very close interaction, and many programs we were running with the, at that time, Department of Ocean Development. Actually started with Professor Gaur. So we were very closely interacting with the ocean development and the various institutes. The few things which I would like to put it is that the Antarctica program is truly a part of the Earth system program. If you see all people who have been saying, they are talking about the geology there, the atmosphere, the biology part, the cryosphere, of course, it is very important, and the hydrology. Everything is being discussed in the one or other forum. And same thing is now being done in the Arctic, and the same thing is being done in the Himalaya as well. And it's a truly national, because apart from those all present, there are several other agencies who have been participating in this program. Geological Survey of India, Indian Institute of Geomagnetism, BSIP, and there are host of the academic and research institute which have been participating in these expeditions. initially which started as only a logistic, which has now grown into all kinds of multifaceted research. And this is, I think, is very important, which shows that why this polar science has become very important. Now, many things have been said about it. But one of the very important things which I would like to draw your attention is that today it is estimated that about 14 to 15 billion tons of ice is removed or melted and goes into the sea. Even on Tibetan Plateau, it is about 4 billion tons. Now, when such a mass moves from land to sea, what happens? One of the things which happens is, it is expected now that next 3 years, the angular velocity of Earth will reduce by 1 second. All the clocks, and we may have to have a leap second probably like leap year. This is one part which would have tremendous implications on all aspects of our life. It looks very 1 second, but Prakash knows that the atomic clock, they measure up to that kind of accuracy is required. So 1 second can make a dramatic difference. That can change many things. You can have the neotectonic activity in many parts. In Himalaya also, we have been seeing that we are unable to explain certain level of fractures, like what happened in Rishiganga, that kind of fractures normally not seen by only plate movement. So there are new areas are coming up just because of this removal of the ice. At the same time, the other thing is also happening is the drastic removal of a groundwater, both from northwest India and northwest US, which also contributes to ultimately the sea level rise. So sea level rise not necessarily only because of this. So all these aspects are now very critical for us to understand, and then it would lead to newer research, newer ideas, and also we will be able to explain some of those things which we are not able to explain today. The second important thing is it has become very important now that the scientific deep drilling has become a very major subject, both in ocean and both in land and also in ice. And I think it was mentioned that we need a technology. And I think currently we do not have that technology with us. And I think since Balaji is here, IIT director is here, BITS director is here, I think we need to build those technologies to drill. Because now to understand the paleoclimate, we will need this kind of a understanding. And today, we are not able to drill on the glaciers. Dr. Ravichandran mentioned that we need thickness. Of course, there are other methods, but whether we can drill in our glaciers, the Arctic area, and Dr. Prakash mentioned that they have a station, satellite receiving station in Antarctica. They get about 9 to 10 orbits every day. But still the 4 orbits are missed. And that we need a station in the Arctic. And I personally feel that either Norway or probably Greenland is an area where, or Russia, we can have this station. So Greenland, Dr. Arvind ji mentioned very clearly many things about it. But I think as I understand, the Greenland has recently election and the new government has taken over. And the major issue there is they are dependent mostly on fisheries. And they are looking for mining and tourism as the new avenues. I think this is an area I think we have to go there as a science and also get some lease for mining, because the rare earth, one of the largest deposits, is in Greenland. The second important thing a third important thing is about the Himalaya. I think the NCPOR must give a credit to set up the first station which is very, very critical. And some of those things which is now coming to our light, that in the accumulation where the glaciers start is warmer than the snout. Now these have tremendous implications on the accumulation. And normally we believe that as height goes up, it becomes cooler, but here is something differently. So there may be certain issues about melting, and which may be quite different, and I don't know the answer, but I'm sure that Thamban, with his expertise in this area, they will be able to provide an answer. We also need stations. Now, if you see the Himalaya as a whole, there are 4 different areas. The westmost, where the central Himalayas, which has more monsoon, but less. The winter season and the monsoon seasons are quite different. If you go to east, which I understand they are going to set up in Arunachal, where the monsoon season and the winter season is same. Now, this would have a lot of implications on how the glaciers behave. And that is, I think, we have not understood fully well. You will be reading many that once glaciers will go, we won't have a water. But most of the water which comes into the river is from the snow melt, not from the glacier melt. And in Brahmaputra and in Ganges, it is less than 10%. Only in Indus, it is quite large. So we have to understand the variability of the snow and glacier in different basins. And that is why we need permanent stations. And I think it's a really good beginning which they have done. The other issue which started with the scientific drilling technology, but there are several issues which we do not have an answer today. The one is the Andaman subduction zone. I understand Dhananjay had some few of meetings. That is an area which is very critical for us to understand because of the earthquakes and the tsunami, and there is a volcano also in Barren Island. We don't have any clear understanding about this region. I think that the scientific drilling as a topic from the Earth System Science Organization is very critical. They're trying to unravel something in Koina, the first time the 3 kilometer. So the scientific drilling to understand the past is going to be a major area, and we need to have the indigenous capability to do. We have done up to 3 kilometers with the indigenous capability, but we need to go 7, 8, 9, 10 kilometers, and that is what I think we need to build. The other important thing which they have been doing is about the hydrothermal vents. And it's very important, and they have now great success in locating some of the vents and many good areas. But I tempted to tell because of your presence, and since you are molecular biologist, you know that the life originated in Hyderabad. While doing the regular work, I think we need to also very important. Dr. Arvindji mentioned about the strategy which we should have, and I fully endorse the views. I fully endorse the views. I like when the Prime Minister or any dignitary goes to US or Russia, there is always on the agenda about defense, space, atomic energy. I think the time has come when the earth science also should be on the agenda, especially the polar science. We don't have any direct understanding with, say, three large states, US, Canada, and Russia, that what we can do together in Arctic, or what is our role in the Arctic. And Dr. Arvindji mentioned very clearly that why Russia and India should collaborate on Arctic. There are some moves already on that aspect. But I think this is very important. The second is the smaller states like Sweden, Finland, Norway is one. And the third is Iceland and Greenland. I think we need to focus on Greenland, and Denmark is very keen that India should come there because of the various reasons. And I think the target should be Greenland is going to be very critical. Dr. Arvindji explained that it's because of US presence there and several other, but as from science angle also, it's very critical because one of the largest ice sheet in North Hemisphere is in Greenland. So whatever happening in Greenland is also ultimately going to affect us. So that is, I think, we need to address that issue. And also we need, as I told, the satellite receiving stations, so that could be the other issue which we need to address. The other important aspect which I want to say is Arvindji mentioned about Himalayan Science Council. It has been done in NCOR 2017, I understand the last meeting, 2019. After that, there is not much of an activity. I don't want to say why it is very important and all, but I think the even current BIMSTEC meeting which happened, I didn't find mention about this. So that means as a diplomatic level or at a political level, it is not coming into that level. The reason probably I think is we have not provided enough scientific information like what we did for Arctic. When Arctic we give scientific information, the political and diplomatic community were keen that we should get into as an observer status in the council and the Arctic Science Council to be a member. So I think we need to, before we go to Science Council, I think we need an association of scientific institute and academic institutes in this region, along with the civil society, to have an association and to have a discussion on these aspects. We have started Polar Dialogue in the last, but that is mostly in the intergovernmental agencies. But I think if we start this as an institute, the association of the institute may able to generate scientific information for which I think the political and diplomatic class can take a notice of it. And this, I can say from my experience on the Indian Ocean, IOGUS, Indian Ocean Global Ocean Observing System, where we had for last 25 years, we have the Association of Scientific Institutes, and it is functioning extremely well, even better than the IOC's own institute, ISO India. This functions much better. So I think this is an area which we need to think that how we can take care of these aspects. One of the largest contribution which this institute has made is on the surveying our continental shelf and presenting a case of getting another 1.2 million square kilometer in our area. We have 2 billion square kilometer area is our EZ, and another 1.2 becomes 3.2, which becomes equivalent to our land area. And I must compliment Dr. Ravichandran. After 15 years of struggle, this has been now cleared that this presentation will be made. So it's really major contribution of this institute. And I think this puts tremendous opportunities and challenges that how to survey this complete 3.2 million square kilometer area. It's a huge task. Even our land with all resources, we have not completely covered our 3.2. So this is a major challenge that which we have, and I think we need to gear up to do that part. Now, there are many issues which I don't want to repeat some of those things which already said, but three things are, to me, to conclude is very important. That the large amount of work needs to be done in polar regions, in Himalaya, in Arctic, in Antarctic, for various aspects which Dr. Ravichandran and Arvindji has mentioned. We also need to do large amount of work in the ocean, in our EZ, our continental shelf, Southern Ocean, high seas. We are at several places. This needs large amount of people. Start something on polar science. We thought about it long back. There may be somewhere document available. Delhi University agreed. But back, there may be somewhere document available. Delhi University agreed. But in the last moment, I think they backed out because of various other reasons. But I think it is still valid that we need, at least to begin with at the doctoral level, which I'm sure with NCPOR, many people may be getting doctorate from a particular, but they are not advertising that we have an expertise on the polar and we would like the people to come and discuss. And I think maybe it may be a good idea for the Ministry of Earth Science to think a fellowship either in ocean, polar, atmosphere, or as a general Earth System Science Fellowship. And that they can do it any educational institute, maybe in IITs or Goa University or BITS or anywhere. I mean, I'm not worried about where it happens. But I think it is a high time that for atomic energy, they have 1,000 in this. So I think this is the one thing. I'm sure that this will take some time. You know, when any university or anybody wants to start, they would first ask a question, who is going to recruit me? You know, that is a very fundamental question. And I think Earth System Science Organization had earlier training school, which any graduate or a postgraduate can come and join for about 18 months training. I think this idea needs to be re-looked at. That you train people for the next, in the areas where you have an interest, maybe climate modeling or a sustainability or a polar science or whatever you think appropriate, whatever is the need. Because this would definitely lead to attraction, because I have seen that the best people started coming to the training school, and some of them may be here because the job was guaranteed. And today, I mean, I saw in some of that even IITs are not fully getting placements. So we may be able to attract the best talent by putting them for some training. And how to do this part is, of course, you know better than me, and then I'm sure that you would be able to find some answers to that area. And the last thing which gave me some thinking I was doing when the Arvindji was speaking. Now, if you see this Arctic, there are minimum 8 countries. If you see Antarctica, New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, we had a discussion with Chile very recently, Argentina. And of course, France, UK are everywhere. In Himalaya, we have a China, Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Myanmar, and many other countries. So almost, if you can see, we are dealing with some 30, 40 countries in one way or the other way. It may be a good idea to have a polar ambassador, or whatever you want to call, but a person who looks at our interest in polar regions. That means that he or she, I mean, I don't want anybody, can be continuously see that how that particular country we can advance our interests as far as polar things are concerned. Because this is going to be very important, and last time when this Antarctica Treaty happened, started saying that India should be in Security Council. Now, that situation in next 20 years, we should build that situation in next 20 years, we should build that they say, okay, if Antarctica Treaty is to be discussed, India should be on this table. I think that is the area which I think we need to look at. And I'm sure that the kind of expertise which we have in this particular room and the country as a whole, we would be able to take up all these challenges likely to come on this. And I'm sure that this occasion has allowed us to rethink about what we have to do, and the many good ideas in last 3 days. I have been listening to many people, and a lot of new ideas have come, and I'm sure that this will take us to Viksit Bharat in 2047. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your words of wisdom and future outlook. So many things in a capsule form you have given, but digestion is different sometimes. It's not easy. So, but we'll surely look after the points that you have raised over 3 days as well. And we hope to churn it out with under your guidance as well. So thank you so much, and I'll request Director NCPOR to please felicitate our guest on the days. Yeah. तालियां प्लीज बजाइएगा. Thank you, sir. I'll request Dr. Thamban to please felicitate Dr. Arvind Gupta as well. And to our secretary and mentor, Dr. Ravichandran. A big round of applause, please. So before we close this function, a couple of housekeeping announcements. And one is, we'll have a photograph of the complete people that are here, where we go from Prithvi Bhavan to Polar Bhavan. Okay. So there are. Okay, Prithvi Auditorium to Pola Bhavan. So these are new names, so for me it will take some time because, anyway. So, and you will see the difference. From Prithvi Auditorium to Pola Bhavan, there will be a temperature gradient as well. Okay, so, and after the group photograph, we'll request the secretary to please visit the special science exhibition. And probably that was because of your insistence that has been done. So you should have a look. And now I'll request everyone to please stand up for, okay, one group photograph, one group photograph. All of you to raise because we'll play the national anthem. I request all of you to join us. I'll request everyone to join us for a group photograph. Thank you very much.
Hello. 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 Juice Pilado. Hello, Mr. Imam. Can you please come to the stage? Mr. Imam, can you please come to the stage? एक शायरी दांत से कटने जूस पिला दो